Hi, what's up? We're in the next part. Yes, I'm busy still telling what's going on here, right? In the previous part, I was explaining to you guys pretty much the weak state of the South African church, or the fluffy or the non-existent state of the South African church, the thriving of the occult, and how, and explaining its origins, and how it is that the longing that I had for a husband to a point of idolatry, the Lord uprooted it out of me by basically making me see just how disgusting the ecosystem is, the atmosphere, the cosmos, the metaphysical plane, and how I will inevitably just get charged by a demonic man, because that's what the plan is. And women that are unprepared to respond to this thing, they basically get told, fine, then die. Fine, die. So they're basically killing Christian women. They are massacring Christian women. They are leaving them iced out in the cold. Women that refuse to capitulate to this agenda, and not just Christian women, but women that just don't want to go out like this. They're dying. And so now South Africa is the worst country to live in as a woman. Gender-based violence, like I said, is a thing. This little occult secret society in this building did not have any women leaders in it, but they were using women against other women. And their ideology was one of basically creating out of women in South Africa Stepford wives, but not so obviously that we might get rebelled against internationally, rebuked internationally. It had to look like it's our choice. But those women that don't want to go out like that would then face death, and the death would look natural. It would look like, I guess, she committed suicide, or she was in a car accident, or she died during childbirth, or we're being killed. And then of course there's those that actually get killed by men. As for men in this country, especially black men, those that are not necessarily involved in this particular occult secret society, if at all they are not indwelt by the Holy Spirit, they automatically, because they are under this principality, then pontificate this agenda. So there is a lot of hatred, resentment in men, males, including boys, against girls. There are these two teenage boys that once upon a time I spoke to in this complex. Because I was older, they were respectful to me, but the way they could not stand girls their age, I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't have that kind of hatred when I was growing up from the guys in my school. Why do you hate girls so much? No, she thinks she's all that. No, she thinks she's smarter than me. No, she thinks she's bossy. I'm like, whoa, Kanti, I mean, these are your future wives. That's exactly a misogynistic spirit right there. They want to be able to have sex and use women the way that women get used in a pleasuring capacity. But honor, respect, actually love as Christ loved the church, forget about that. And already these teenage boys were operating in that level of hatred of women without even experiencing life, without even getting brokenhearted by a girl, without even basically growing up to get to a point where now everybody's competing in corporate for careers, and guys are starting to realize that, whoa, women can get really strong here. And so now you feel bitter. We're dealing with dudes just in high school already feeling this way about girls. So they automatically glide in this resentment, and they don't know why. I'll tell you. It's a principality that has been erected by some secret society very closely linked to the ANC. Therefore, what my ex-boyfriend did to me, what the guy who wanted to make out of me a mistress was doing, he was just responding to a curse that would make out of him a typical man operating under this particular curse. Remember the guy? The one that I was like, to him I was like Dej Loaf, and he was Jacques. Can we get a room and we don't gotta tell nobody? It's just me and it's just you, and what we're doing here is private. I know you really want it, but you belong to somebody else. Both wanna be together. But yeah, the guy that had a girlfriend, I had a boyfriend, but the two of us were like, if you leave, no, I was like basically thinking, if you leave her for me, I will leave him for you, and the two of us will go into the sunset. He took me on a date to the stadium. We watched soccer, and then he struggled to let me go, tried to string me along. Remember, he tried to make out of me a side piece, a mistress. That is that polygamous strategy being employed. A guy in whose natural character that was out of. In his very natural state, it was out of character for him to try and make a woman a lifetime mistress, a lifetime side piece. That was a viable woman that leave her alone to go and marry somebody else, frankly, because you want to stay with your girlfriend. The fact that that even was an idea that was sparked in his mind as a feasible thing was because of that principality. Remember, I told you guys in my earlier past that it is not everybody that was fueling the secret society that was aware of the ominous agenda. but there's some people just got recruited into the occult and did whatever it is that they did, and so helped the agenda along. And I described it as having the same sort of organizational structure as a company, where those at the lowest level of this company don't even know company strategy, but nonetheless they work for the company, while every person that is into witchcraft in this country works for this cult. They work for this cult, including Yena Jacques as Dejloaf, a guy that wanted to cheat on his girlfriend and then wife for a lifetime with me. It is that polygamous spirit, a man that would have gone ayopora imediake and say, look, I'm in love with Karabo, and you over here, Renelwe, they say her name is Renelwe. I know you love me too, but I'm in love with 2 women, but I don't know which one to pick. Am I confused because I don't want to choose one of them? I don't want to lose none of them. Now they are trying to, they tried to prime the nation of women through the entertainment industry to basically get to a point where they're like, I love you too much to let you go. Indeed, I had very strong feelings for that guy Nankaza. His woman likely very much in love with him. And if at all this guy were to rock up to his girlfriend and was like, I want to be with Karabo, but I still love you. And this woman then was like, oh heck no. And then she goes and roams these streets and mourns the fact that she's just beside herself with adoration for her husband or her boyfriend, and then comes back after 2 or 3 days and is like, okay fine, we can talk. If anything, God has given me a thought now of a scene basically in a show on TV to display what in the world happens when a woman finds out that a man that she's very much in love with is cheating. In being Mary Jane goes to Avery, right? That's the wife's name, Ega Andrew. She is having an affair with Andrew. Didn't know that she was having an affair with Andrew because she thought that it was her boyfriend, because she didn't know that he was married. She then finds out he's married and decides to go to the wife and tell her that your husband has been sleeping with me for a couple of months. I didn't know though. And Avery's like, what am I supposed to do with that information? What am I supposed to do with it? Because this is the man that I love, so I don't care what you have to tell me, I'll keep him. And Mary Jane walks away on some, okay, I don't know. Yeah, when a woman loves a man that much that even when she gets told by a mistress that your man and I are having an affair, she's like, I'll keep my husband and I'm going to fight for him. But if that husband decides that he wants the mistress and then starts to negotiate with you and says, you love me, I love you too, but I also love her. If you love him enough, there might come a time when you're like, fine, I'll be your first wife, she'll be your second. Yeah, they were trying to create something like that. The devil was trying to foster something like that for me. I was already struggling with that with my ex-boyfriend, who had that Jezebelian chick that was all up in his grill. And I was like, you gotta choose. Not you gotta choose, but like, I'm gonna leave if you don't stop heeding this girl's petitions. If you do not stop giving her money when she calls you, sending her airtime, buying her fascinator hats for the Durban July, I'm leaving you. That girl, my boyfriend, finally resisted the devil and told that other woman to get out the way because, like, frankly, made. And if anything, that woman in and of herself was such a gold digger that she wasn't interested in my ex because he didn't have much. So that's what kept me safe in that relationship. But imagine, and I remember how I told you that I was not ready to leave him. I loved him too much. He cheated on me, and while I thought that I was the kind of woman that would never ever stay with a guy that cheats, I stayed. When you're that much in love with a guy, and then next thing you rocks up and he's like, I'm in love with the other woman, and you are bereft, you're mourning, you don't want to be without him. At some point, the dude can actually rock up and negotiate to keep you both. And if both women feel that strongly, my goodness, we've got a polygamous affair. It happened with my ex. I survived it. The new dude that was rocking up, Kimo busy falling in love with another woman while in love with another. And he took me out on a date and everything. Was aware of the activity that I was looking at on social media with him and his woman. And he expected me to just take this in my stride. But I broke off and I was like, I'm not doing it. And now look at me dying today. He would have gotten to a point at some point if I was prepared to be his little side piece. And his woman finding out about me, where he likely might have been like, look, I like you both, so instead of it being a common law marriage, let's do customary, where you're both my wives. My goodness. While this man is kitcharing malobola at another woman's home, and my family knows that I am sharing a husband, and they're like, yeah, I never would have known that this would ever happen all up in my grill, but she seems okay. Both of them are right now, so okay. They would have probably looked at two very strong independent women agreeing to be the wife of one man. Except I was like, no thank you. And frankly, because I said no thank you, that chick was saved from whatever in the heck I ever would have been to her. He liked me enough to do that. Lo and behold, I actually got a dream about it. So now that you have had explained to you Toro El, that dream with the secret society in KZN and what it was trying to do, and I have communicated to you guys that I had idolatry for marriage. And God uprooted it out of me by showing me all of this wickedness that was going on over the show. After I got over the one guy, because I discovered that he was not a Christian, then I started getting a barrage of attack from so many men. The dreams, when I was still working at MTN, yo, guys, the dreams that I got about, like randoms, just walking around in the office, yo, guys, I was like, oh, what am I seeing? I don't know what in the world this is. What's with these dreams? I only understood my dreams later on, after losing everything. But when I was still employed and everything, the korobelas, and I already spoke to you guys about this, I told you in my previous parts, the amount of korobela that came in my general direction. No, guys, not because I'm the baddest chick in the game or whatever, but because I am a fervent praying Christian, and the devil wanted to smother that, silence it, and also it was a strategy to marry godly girls with wicked men. So he charged me with them. It's like I was John Wick and they were all assassins, and a contract was on me. I had a target put on my back, and the people that were the zombies that were basically turned on, like agents in the Matrix, basically, like, that whole scene. Indeed, that's exactly what it was like. In the Matrix, agents in the Matrix, wherever Neo was at, wherever Trinity was at in the Matrix, any person walking around, an agent can take their body and charge Neo. So anybody could be an agent unless they have been plugged out of the Matrix. That's what it was like with me. Everywhere I went, anybody at all that was involved in the occult, any South African around me at all that was involved in the occult, were made to charge me. Anybody that had dabbled one spell, the devil was like, they've got an inclination towards it. They've got a predisposition. He's got a predisposition. So colleagues, people in the office, in the apartment building where I worked, church, yo, guys, like love curse, yar, switched on, just about anyone that could get switched on. Voo, voo, voo. Manja, when there are so many guys vying for you all at the same time, you just need to be taken out of society. Like, you just need to get taken out. And that's what God did. He made me lose my job. He made me lose my church. Guys. This thing is a problem with black men, but I had it slapping me upside the head by 3 men in a church that was mostly white. One guy was colored, and then there were 2 guys, korobela. I'm like, how? This is a thing that black people do. We're the ones with resaring people bring back lost love. Not only did I get afflicted, like I said, it was the worst. At work, it was literally the workplace was the worst. The workplace was, if at all you worked at MTN and you put korobela at me, you know. Some guys I didn't even know how to crush. I was not even spoken to by these guys. Never even tried to holler at a sister, but from a distance. Colleagues that I worked with in marketing, one dude was in training, the other one was a network group, for crying out loud. I'd only ever seen this guy walking around the building. I did not know him like that. What were you planning on coming upon me, giving you a wink? Was I supposed to wink at you and then you'd be like, okay, it worked? Some of them I got really shocked by, because I had no idea that they did stuff like that because they were professing Christians. The one, I got training. Even he had a blog where he used to write Christian content. I'm so exhausted, guys. I'm so tired. As I speak right now, I'm feeling bouts of fatigue, but it's spiritual war. I'm being attacked because this thing that I am sharing is heavy. The dude wako training Batong Wezi, he was getting a divorce. He was an alpha male. There isn't a single woman in the office that didn't want this guy. He was tall, he was absolutely handsome, he was successful, but I was like, I'm not marrying a man that's been married before. I'm not doing it. I'm a Christian. Top of that, he had like teenage girls or something. Like, there was just too much baggage. I did not like the way that guy was being flirted all over the show in the office. God dang it. I was like, why nah? But that's the thing. It was precisely because I was a godly woman. I got pursued by ungodly men that were in the occult. This dude was a professing Christian. After he sent a woman that was a Christian to come and talk to me for him. I was like, why are you scared to talk to me? Kinka kwa baba, you are this alpha male that everybody wants, and on top of that, you're not shy. Why wouldn't you talk to me? Exactly. It's like they did this to me from a distance because the power of God it made them nervous. Hey, Ebatung. Finally, he came to my desk himself. And I remember thinking, dude, you flirt with so many women in the office. Ke go shebile, ke go bona, dutse mo dutseng teng right there in your desk. Why would I even want to consider you? On top of that, I know you're a divorcee, and I know you're also leaving your wife just because you're bored with her, not because she cheated or whatever. I don't want to be with you. I've read your blog. When that other girl told me that you're interested in me, I decided to go and check what's going on with you, and I found your blog, and I found a whole bunch of information about you. You talk about Jesus, but you're very lukewarm. I didn't say it in so many words, but I basically rebuffed him. I made it clear to him with my body language that you're not gonna get far here, don't even try. After that, I got a dream where he was basically, I was like, you know, when you put an apple on a person's head and then you shoot a dart at it? Yeah. But instead of it being an apple, it was me. And he was the person shooting me in this way in a dream. That's too, though. Guys, I got dreams of my past where, like, when I was growing up in fornication. You know how when you don't have your own apartment and the guy doesn't have his own apartment and you improvise as to where under heaven you're going to fornicate, and then later on you feel very ashamed of yourself as a woman because of where it is under heaven that you were had by a guy. I would get dreams like those where I was being had in a space of that nature. Ingati mina, I'm not a grown woman that's even born again in Jesus Christ now, not going out like that anymore. And you know, when you get dreams of back in the day, just witchcraft all over, and the person with whom I would be laying in this compromised position would be some other dude in the office, and I'd be like, what's happening? I went on right ahead to read what do you call this thing, blogs talking about spiritual warfare, talking about spirit husbands, spirit wives, why you would dream about sex so much, and do self-deliverance. You've got the problem, you need to gouge out your eye, maybe there's an open door in your life, you're masturbating. At the time I was like, I am such a good girl, I'm so pure right now, I don't even watch Netflix, so masturbation don't come at me. I don't watch TV anymore. All I consume all day and night are sermons. I come to work, and even at work sometimes I'm listening to sermons. I have never been purer in my life. Don't come tell me about a spirit husband. I kept getting these dreams anyway. Sex dreams. Literally incredible passion, hard knock with some dude out there in these streets, and I'd wake up, go to work, and I'd be like, why did I dream about you like that? I'm not feeling you like that, dude. Yazi, spiritual rape, binge. I don't know how many men I had sex with in my dreams that were in my office that I was not interested in. I did not even look at them once or twice. I was not interested. Some of them I didn't even know their names. Like I told you, in the Basasoko network group, I was like, what's going on? What's happening? Yeah. I thought I needed deliverance. I thought I was under a curse. But no, that's what witchcraft, that's what Korobela looks like. So all these doctrines of demons and destructive heresies. You've got spirit husbands, that's why you're having sex in your dreams. No, if you see sex in your dream, it's not you, it's them. If you are not currently masturbating, if you're not consuming pornography, if you are consecrated and you are washed like with water through the word, you're sutured to Jesus, and yet you still nonetheless get a sex dream, it's an attack, it's spiritual, and it's witchcraft, because the devil works through the flesh. And a lot of times as well, sex dreams are sex rituals. They are suggestions. It is to inspire lust in you. It is to cause you to look at this person that way. And what you must do is just wake up in the morning, pray, and let the dust settle. And the next day and shortly afterwards from that season, you will stop seeing or looking at that person that way. The witchcraft will wear off. That's how God warns you that witchcraft is an operation. So if you see yourself having sex with a person in your dream, hi bunny, you've been shown that person's face. They are Korobela-ing you. That's what Korobela looks like. Women, please listen to me. How do you identify Korobela? If you are in a dream and the guy who is Korobela-ing you, the guy that is love cursing you, the guy that's trying to force you to be with him, is in that dream, and you are either making out with him, kissing, groping, touching, or you are heavily attracted to him in a way that you can't understand, if you are having sex with him, if you are drawn to him but he's ignoring you, he's not even looking at you, but you are like basically salivating after him and all you want to do is grope, touch, feel, that's Korobel. That's what it looks like. I bet some of y'all, if at all you're listening to me, you're thinking back about all such dreams that you got. Some strange dude in the office that you don't even talk to that much, and yet you are so sexually attracted to him in your dream. And worse, sometimes you're even actually having sex with him. It's not just pizza you ate, or your mind running away with you. It's korobela. It looks exactly like that. Sometimes you might find yourself pregnant with his baby, not aware as to when under heaven you had sex, but you're his like impending baby mama, and your stomach is growing fast, and you are panicking because you were not ready for pregnancy. Ke korobela. Ke korobela. Ke hankanahana. What other dreams did I get? Yeah, look, it'll always have something to do with sex and passions. And in my particular case, their faces get exposed. Ngibabona wetziking sonoro. And yeah, next morning I would go to the office on some I don't like you. I don't like your shoes for the better part of the time. I think you could buy new ones. I don't like the way that you wear your shirt. I hate the smell of your cologne. I don't like guys with that kind of like, crusty looking beard. You have one. I would never be attracted to you. I don't like the way that you speak Tswana. You have an accent. I think your eyes are too close together and you've got a unibrow. But I had sex with you in a dream. Stuff like that. Think back. They are all over the show. They live among us. It is an epidemic. And like I said, I got lambasted by a whole bunch of stranger men, right? That I didn't know. And for me, I just brushed them off real quick because, like I said, I didn't know them. I didn't care about them. Mutoko network group, whatever. When I see you in the office, whoa, that's it. Like, literally, that's it. That's what we're doing. But the devil did not just charge me with such men as these that were obviously ignorable. All the ones, ignorable. One of them was such a sebocho that I didn't even understand why he was clumsy, like unkept, disheveled. I was like, whoa, have you seen me, Abuti? Ke hang lelekisa. No, not okay, but lelekisa is extreme. But one time he followed me. Go Grace Bible Church, because I went to Grace as well. He followed me to my car after church. Dude, can I go, please? Can I go? Wang landela. I got in my car and drove off. I had dreamt about him in a compromised capacity. That's what came at me when I was newly saved. Men sitting in the church, men sitting in the office, men sitting in my environment in but you see, that didn't work. The devil knew that wouldn't work, but nonetheless it was a barrage. The thing about this stuff, there's spiritual weapons that you have to fight off, so it was basically almost like something as well that was creating a smoke screen around me, a blockage from anybody else at all that ought look at me from looking at me. What God has put together, that no man separate. It's naive of the devil to think that he has been the one to block my marriage, or people in the occult. I'm not married yet, because that's not what God was doing with my life anyway. If I end up married, then you will know. And not even if, when, frankly. When I had to live to tell the story. Anyway, that wouldn't work. I would never ever end up with a guy of that nature. Like, forget about it. Like, people that I don't even know. Guys with unibrows that I was not even trying to sign up for. Yeah, okay, that was not definitely gonna work. Nothing at all was charged in me. So what did Satan do? Phew, guys. I'm feeling sleepy and overwhelmed right now because I'm being attacked for sharing this testimony, but I'm gonna share it. What then did the devil do? Yamkumbula, Uzama. Remember Zama? What's going on over there? The hot boy? The one, why can we get a room? Yeah, Zama. What's happening over there? Anyway, Zama. Yes, never mind Zama. But there was this guy in the office that I had a gargantuan crush on. Just mammoth. Like mammoth. Before I got saved. The whole time when I was dating my ex, I was on and off crushing and spazzing over this guy. He was pulling stunts. I told you guys that my ex and I were on and off, and never mind being on and off, but he took me for granted. And because of taking me for granted every so often, I would think one day I'm going to leave you for another guy. And so when I started working at MTN, there was this one guy that also started more or less at around the same time as me, and he was tall and handsome. That guy is a story on his own. So I'm not really going to unpack him, because I ended up believing that he was my future husband, a dude I used to call head boy, and I've spoken about him at length in the past. I got over him, but it took a lot. He married another woman, and when he married that woman, I was devastated. I cried and was in denial, and I moved on. Like I said, that is a completely different story for another day. And I'm not going to labor on him, but I will just highlight it for the sake of this particular story, right? That Okie, I had a crush on him. He was one of those arrogant dudes that look at you today, smile, Galsania will pretend like you're not even in the room. What in the world? Did you eat breakfast? Whatever, moving on. So because of that like random attitude, I just was like, whatever, I guess we'll go in. And every time I would then get to a point where I'm like, I'm moving on from whatever it is that you are. Because he used to flirt with me and then stop, and then flirt and then stop. After my ex and I broke up, he was not the reigning theme in my mind. The person that was the reigning theme in my mind was Zama. The can we a room. That one. The dude that I already told you guys about. The one with the soccer stadium and the date. That was the reigning dude in my mind at breakup. After getting saved, the reigning dude in my mind was a fake Christian. After I got over the fake Christian, the devil brought this gangster back. Like, I had gotten over this dude. Remember I told you that after coming to Christ, not only did I deactivate my Facebook account, but I also threw away every random crush or a guy that I had, because I had a clean slate now and I was waiting on Jesus, right? This guy was among the things that I threw away. Like I said, his story is one for another day on its own and deserves its own segment. So I'm not going to labor on what happened there, but I will tell you that he was brought back like a bat out of hell. Because of his on and off state with me, until I started getting dreams about me groveling at his feet, chasing after him while he is ignoring me. Pretty much his ignoring stance of what would usually be the case in waking life. But like in waking life, when he would ignore me after giving me attention, I'd be like, whatever, what a mood swinging rando. But in my dream, I was like, why aren't you loving me? I'm ready for I was basically at his beck and call. I am being attacked spiritually, guys. I feel exhausted. I'm feeling tired. And it doesn't make sense because really, frankly, I slept and very well. So we're going to tell the story until we're done. Why aren't you loving me, brother man? What did I ever do to you, brother man? First night I got that dream, I was like, whatever. The devil knew I had a crush on this guy. And he knew it was one of the biggest crushes I had ever. So he was like, if at all, sending her a barrage of randos in the office doesn't work for one of them to finally get up, I'm going to bring someone back that she's actually really liked before. He literally, it's like the devil scanned the environment for someone in the occult that I have had feelings for. And that guy was the perfect, weapon. Because I did have feelings for him. He was still single at the time. I did not know. Remember, I'm very mature in Christ now, so I would definitely not very mature, but I know enough. I would never ever get unequally yoked with an unbeliever. So he had to be a professing Christian, whoever it is that will want to pursue me. Otherwise, you're wasting my time. A lot of the guys that stabbed me with Korobela, goodness gracious, could not care less about Jesus. Like one guy, for instance, after everywhere I would go, in my persecution as I'm suffering like this, he was a Muslim. And I just looked at it on some, really? Sure, okay. It bounced off me like, I don't know, oil on water, on ice. It was like, it slipped off. Like grease, man, like a body and the Vaseline going through a door. Like slips, it did nothing. Because what am I doing with a Muslim? Like, never. Forget it. And on top of that, he was just in this worldly life. I just got targeted by Korobela, by random guys. And throughout, still to this day, it's still hitting me. They are drawn to me. Men in the occult, because the devil is sending them my way. Anyway, this guy, however, because the devil knew that, okay, so I tried to just send her random Korobela. It didn't work. From like random whatevers with uni bras in the office, she would not capitulate. I even sent her an alpha male that's very handsome. Every woman in the office wants him. However, she rejected because he's got baggage and he's obviously a lukewarm Christian because she read his blog. So okay, she's going to need something that looks really Christian. Because there was a guy once that came into her space that was a little bit of and God is the one that turned her off him because he was obviously lukewarm. So what I need is a perfectly Christian looking man that works for me, that is my servant. He's in the darkness, uyat tagat. And he resurfaced to this bugaboo. You make me want to throw my pager out the window. But he became the bane of my existence because I literally ended up believing he was my future husband. I told you that this story, this guy deserves its own series. So I'm not going to labor, but I will give you snippets, okay? First of all, I had written them off because one, attitude, two, I'm in Christ now and I'm not even trying to look at you, whatever. Hey, Batung. There was this church at work that I used to go to downstairs, like they had like services during the week, like on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays and whatnot. You could just go there during lunchtime and do your thing. One day, after getting these dreams about him, I remember I don't understand my dreams and I'm busy like seeing him in my dreams. And in my dreams, again, it's always passions, sex, lots of sex, lust, groveling after, like a guy, passionately just wanting him to love you already. I would get dreams like this about him. over and over and over and over, and I didn't understand why am I dreaming so much about this guy. However, because I had such strong feelings for him at some point, I thought that maybe it's because I still like him, and so Gamolora. But the dreams were licentious, for crying out loud. Didn't understand spiritual wars, spiritual dreams, and all that jazz. I just wrote it off. I kept on seeing him in the office, and guess what he did? Instead of being cold and super aloof and random like he always has been, this time he was consistent with kindness, to a point where we eventually, after 4 years of working in the same building, actually introduced himself to me in the coffee shop one time, and he sat with me while waiting for coffee, and we had a brief conversation, and my heart just melted, and I was like, my goodness, he's such a great guy. Yeah. And I remembered the dreams that I had about him. Remember, I already have a natural organic crush on this guy. Mara, he was a shade passer all these years, and I was just ignoring him. This guy deserves his own story, okay? And then this event happens, and from the date when he introduced himself to me in the coffee shop, no longer did we pass each other or anything of that nature in the office where he would ignore me and pass me shade. He was actually sweet the whole time. I was like, oh my, he's changing. But remember, I can't be with a man that's not in Christ, so I'm exercising self-control. I will not let myself like this guy. Lo and behold, one day I go to the church at work, and this guy is behind me leaving. Like, the church at work, you had to what do you call this? You had to actually exit the building and go to the basement, because it was in the parking lot. There was a room in the basement and around the parking lot area that we used to have this church. So you would have to actually exit the turnstiles. So it appears he came from behind me, and it appeared as if though he was going to leaving the office, because you had to actually like get out of the office and then go to the basement. I thought he was leaving the office. Instead, he pretty much went where I was going, right? And like downstairs, we started chatting by the staircase as we were going downstairs, and I was like, he was like, so where you going? Where you off to? Right? Are you leaving the office, taking early lunch or whatever? Because it was slap bang in the middle of the day. I was like, no, there's like this church downstairs that I go to. He's like, oh, how ironic. That's also where I'm going. And I'm like, whoa, oh my goodness, he's a Christian? He's a Christian? Are we for real just yet? Yeah, no. At that stage, I started to like, the memories and of the dreams that I'm getting about him started to flood to me, and I was like, oh, maybe God is showing me that this is my husband. In my dream, I was busy chasing after him, and some of them were very heavily sexual, and I thoroughly believe that was God showing me that that's my husband. I basically confirmed in my mind that he was a Christian, which he wasn't. We went to the church at work together downstairs, and on numerous occasions did I see him at that church at work. One time, the end of the church, we would do that prayer, may the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the fellowship of God and the love of God, the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forever. Yeah, we would do that prayer in a circle, holding hands. One time he insisted on standing next to me, and while we do that, so he would hold my hand, and how he held my hand was not like the way that you would hold like a person, like, you know, we used to hold hands like that with each other, or maybe like that, right? As we were doing this fellowship with the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. This dude, not only, first of all, I tried to hold his hand like that, right? And he took his hand, maneuvered it, and did that with it, and squeezed my hand, and like did that with his like thumb, basically like hinting to me stuff. And guys, chills just went up my like spine and whatnot. I was like, my goodness, this guy, he knows I've got a crush on him. What is he doing? Why is he busy holding my hand like I'm his girlfriend or something? Go get a gig. After that prayer session happened, I was like, yeah, I broke off, and I not stormed out, but I kind of left there in a hot flash, because I was basically spazzing over this dude. Such things, as they continued to happen, for me, it was like, this is it. One time, again, Q in the coffee shop, and I was with one of my colleagues, this one Indian girl, and he came to chat with me, and he was such a gentleman. He was so decent, and he greeted my colleague on some hi. Let's say Temba. Hi, I'm Temba. And then after talking with my colleague to acknowledge her, he looked me in the eye and was like, and how are you, girl? I was like, well, I was so busy falling in love with this guy. Like, falling in love like no man's business. Like, what in the world is going on? I ended up believing that he was my husband. Such liaisons never stopped with this guy. One time it was Christmas, almost Christmas, scant sort of kind of skeleton staff in the office. And I was going to the coffee shop to go and get coffee or a sandwich or whatever, and he was coming from the coffee shop. He worked on level 2. I worked on level 3, so I was going down, and we met go the level yachache, and he waited for me to finish going all the way down the stairs, to meet him, and he was like, since Christmas is coming and we're not going to be at work on Christmas Day, I just wanted to wish you Merry Christmas and hug you about it. I was like, whoa, yo guys, you know, hello, yeah, but I had mad feelings for this guy, like MADDD, mad. I had mad feelings for this guy, and for me it was like, nah, that's my dude, like that's what's good. This happened for months until I lost everything. The following year would be the year 2014 when I lost everything. June was when July-ish was the last time I was ever seen inside the building at MTN ever again. And he wasted time. He did not pursue, and I'm glad he didn't, because he was in the occult. The dreams I was getting were Korobela. This guy did not need to use Korobela on me, because like I said, I liked him pretty much from I thought he was pretty fly. The first day that I saw him, we'd been flirting for years on and off, and sometimes he gave attitude. He was moody, and I would basically get over him because of the fact that I stopped looking at him and I entered into the kingdom of heaven, and I told myself, all the little crushes I have, throw them out of the window. I threw him too out of the window, and he started to notice that I guess buy first stop. And then the devil was like, you can get her if you want. And then he korobeled me. That's why I was busy chasing and groveling after him in my dreams. But I thought it meant he was my husband and I gotta chase after him, or I gotta basically put myself at his threshing floor because he's my Boaz. Thank God for loss of job, because if I did not lose my job, that little song and dance would have continued likely until I ended up married to that guy. That song and dance would have continued until he finally pursued me, and I would have then ended up married to him, because he, Mr. Bugaboo, met a woman shortly after I lost everything, and quickly things progressed. He was ready to get married, and he married her. Was it the following year or later that year, got December? That dude was going to another thing about him is I often saw him at church, and I also not only saw him in the morning service but the evening too. This is a dude that was doing church as much as I was doing church, and I was like, oh, this is it. But he was into the occult because of loss of my job. He was like, hi, I don't want a woman that's being persecuted like this. I don't want a woman that is being given this much grief. I like her, but one of the dreams that I had about this guy was of me walking out of MTN, the building, and I kept on looking back at him saying, when I leave, when I get out of here, you're not going to see me again, and you're going to lose me forever. And he was like chilling by the railings, ignoring what I'm saying on some go. I don't care if you leave. I was warning him in my dream that if you let me go, you will never see me again, and he let me go. So basically, he had strong enough feelings for this thing between him and I to likely end up in marriage, and I would have ended up married to an unbeliever. But my leaving, my departure from MTN, because of the injustices that slapped my life at the time, caused him to be like, there's more where they came from, plenty of fish in the ocean. A man I'd been dilly-dallying, prancing around with for 5 years, pretty much since the beginning of my employment at MTN. He just let me go because I got persecuted, and that was God protecting me from him, because I would have ignored all the signs, I would have ignored all the wonders, I would have ignored all the hints that God was showing me that no, I was not showing you that as your husband, having not needed to, because you already have feelings for him. He's involved in the occult while he's dabbling around in my church. I would have just married him, and I would have been a miserable wife, even though I would have been very much in love with him at the date of marriage. Yeah, the devil used that guy, and after I got out, after everything fell apart for me, I held on to the hope of him because I thought God showed me my husband. And, guys, like I said, that guy's story, it deserves its own segment, its own series. Bottom line is, it took me a year to find out that he got married, and when I found out, it took me 3 months to cry. I was in denial. And then once I finally got over him, once I finally got over the fact that he got married, and so therefore I now need to move on, he never let me go. He kept on watching my case, my life. He followed me on my YouTube channel, on like the fight that I was having with MTN and everything. And he kept on bewitching. At some point, he took out a death curse on me because he could not bear the prospect of me ever ending up with any other guy. And that didn't work. And then he was just abusing me spiritually. And I had to disappear off social media for him to leave me alone. And that's exactly what happened. When I found out that he was married, and I made that clear that I was very sad, I was broken, at some point I was crying in a video that I uploaded on YouTube. He felt sad, but for him it was like, you're mine and nobody else is going to have you. What are you talking about? You married another woman. Besides, you're into the occult. Anyway, whatever. That same spirit of polygamy. And never mind polygamy, but just entitlement. And a man that is not of God desperately longing for a woman that is of God, because he is drawn to the goodness of God, but without really wanting God. You want to just go and muddy a godly girl. This guy became one of the biggest and the most prolific afflictors of my person spiritually. He wanted to finish me off. He wanted me to die because he didn't want me to be with anybody else. And I had, like I said earlier, to disappear off social media for him to finally calm down with witchcraft. For him to finally stop pursuing at least me, because he most definitely likely continued with other people and whatnot. I disappeared. And even in my disappearance, with me being underground for a couple of years, he would come back to my blog and check. That's what God showed me. That's why I get the stories of this guy deserves his own segment. He would come to check what's going on with me. And he's recently come back. He checked he has the link to my WordPress blog, my website basically, and he knows my main YouTube channel. And I have recently been getting dreams about him. They have resurfaced because he never stopped checking on me. I only found out that his was an occultic involvement when I was already suffering, because I realized that was not God showing me he's my husband. That was God showing me he's into witchcraft. But such things were sent to me by the devil to make sure that I am perpetually tormented by his servants, forcing me to marry them. So that guy, he was a very dangerous force or influence in my life because I already had feelings for him. And so given that it worked that well with that guy, the devil then kept on sending me basically affliction from men that I already had crushes or feelings on. They kept on coming at me because they were his best bet. He stopped flooding me with rubbish from randos with unibrows, but then started flooding me with rubbish from randos that I very likely would crush on in waking life. And it's been his strategy ever since, and to this day he's still using it. If I've ever had a crush on a guy, if I've ever had feelings on a guy, if I've ever looked upon a guy with any level of favor, that if all this guy belongs to him. And that's what he did with Oki, Zama. Can we get a room? Yeah, he charged Zama to me because I had actual real feelings for Zama. And I'm going to tell you the Zama story in the next part.